Hey YouTube, you made your way to Mind Your Mind with Just Justified. And with me, I have my homegirl, Dion MUA, my sis from another beat, the JJ. What's up, sis? How you doing?
Hola, buenos noches.
Yep. So we
Let's go.
tackling the hard topic today.
Ooh, what's
We're
going
talking
on?
about toxic families. You ready for this?
I'm ready. Let's go. Let's dive in. I'm ready to
Yeah,
go in deep.
yeah.
Let's go.
All right, so I have some clips. We're going to talk about it. We're going to react. Let's see where we go with this topic. All right, I'm leaving it open. Let's see. Because I know we have at least one person that pops into our mind when we think about toxic family. All right, so let's move on to our first clip. All right.
I had to
All right, so
count.
this clip, more than one hand, right? Oh. So this first clip, it's about Ciara. I forgot her last name. Gates. Ciara Gates from Love and Hip Hop, right? So
Yep.
if you have not seen Circling Around, this is a conversation between her and her mother. Let's
Mm.
check this conversation out. There's colorful language.
Mm.
Listen to you. Listen. Listen to you. You the one who started all this stuff. You don't. Mom, listen to you. Mom, you started all of this. You talked about me to D. Told all my business to D.
Ooh.
All right, so let's dive in. Thoughts? What's your
So,
thoughts?
ugh. Okay, so I don't frequent Love and Hip Hop Atlanta like I used to.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while, I'll pop in and see what's going on. I watched last season. I got a little bit of this season. But from what I know about Ciara, her and her mother have a very tumultuous relationship. Ciara ended up being raised pretty much by her grandmother because I believe her mother abused alcohol. So you saw some of that struggle on the show where the mom was still abusing alcohol and Ciara was trying to, get her on the right path. Like, hey, you got to go to rehab if you want to live with me. You got to give up the bottle. I have my kids here, et cetera, et cetera. And she did get a lot of pushback from her mom, but eventually I think she said to herself, okay, well, my daughter's going to help me. Let me try. But from that type of conversation, I think it would be kind of safe to say she might have had a relapse because
Mm.
that was a lot of colorful language.
Mm-hmm.
She was talking to her like she was a chick on the street, like it could be whatever. So I never understood those type of dynamics when it came
Mm.
to families where they could like drag out and cuss each other out and carry on like that and then turn around and be like, all right, so what you want to eat? All
Mm.
right, you want to get some
Right.
Popeyes real quick? We get Chinese food? Like some people can move like that. And I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
that's necessarily her experience, but I'm pretty sure that's not the first time her mom cussed her out like that. Like that was coming out
So
like water.
that reminds me of this post that I saw before. Actually, I'm about to put it up on the screen. So this is the post. We don't apologize in my family. One day we just start talking. Similar, no? Like what you just said.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that honestly, that is something like that we deal with in our Black families. I can't really say that I haven't come across at least one person, at the very least one person in my friendship circles that hasn't had those type of dynamics before. Like, okay, I haven't spoken to my brother or my sister or my dad or my mom or whomever for like however long, and then one day just start talking again. Nothing gets resolved, nothing gets spoken about. It's just, hey,
Swept
what's
under the
going
rug.
on? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know what that's about, but I feel like it's really hard to maintain, I think. And I think it's also something that is a very unhealthy communication style because nothing gets resolved.
Nothing's resolved. Right. Right.
Nothing's resolved, nothing's really talked through, nothing's healed. So it's almost like you're putting a band-aid on a bullet wound and it's just
Mm-hmm.
gushing.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like, let's see how this gonna work. And
Right.
it doesn't, it's not.
To me, it's like, you ever saw that shattered glass and then you kind of try to glue it together, but it's still shattered, even though it's kind of together, but it's not whole like how it was before. Like that's what it kind of seems to me when it comes to these kind of situations. But and that also relates to this next dynamic that we're going to talk about. I'm sure we know of them, Tokyo Tony and China.
I love it actually. You know you wouldn't laugh. You do.
You got problems. You need to get straight. You need a therapist.
You know what
You need a therapist. Put that down. Don't blow that smoke in my face.
I didn't blow
Don't
it.
blow that smoke in my face. I'm over here. Talk to me over here like a real one. Be a real one for 1 minute. Why do you have
What do
to
you
be
want from
such a
me?
liar? That's the problem.
I'm a liar.
Nothing.
I have never lied to you.
Nothing. I want nothing from you.
I feel bad.
Nothing
I feel
from
bad
you.
for you. You should know.
No, don't feel bad for me.
I feel bad.
No, you
should
should.
know.
No, you should. You should.
You just-
No, because right now you faking.
I know you've been through a lot.
I ain't been through shit.
No,
Only thing I've been
honestly,
through
I'm not
is
faking.
you are
I'm
faking.
not. No, because
I put all my energy,
faking would be
time, and
everybody
everything
get the
else.
out of my
No,
house.
it wouldn't be. So you just swear you the the whole shit,
no,
Red?
I wanted you. I wanted to see you. I've been asking for you.
Thoughts. That's some toxic stuff right there. So, like, my thing is, I'm sure you've seen this relationship off and on social media if you're on certain platforms. And every time I see it, it's like a roller coaster to me. Like, one day she loved her daughter to pieces. The next day she's a bee, she's a hoe, she's a this, she's a that. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, which side do you even lean towards if that's how the relationship you're supposed to take? Then you wonder, yeah.
You can really see, I don't know. I mean, I'm only going off of, because I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I do not have those credentials. However, I have worked with psych patients before. I do have that background. So I've seen the bipolars, I've seen the schizophrenics, I've seen those type of patients before. And especially when they're in mania, it's kind of like, it's not too far from that, where it's uncontrolled. It's not making sense. It's sometimes it could be very aggressive. And seeing those, it's not, because every relationship has their ebbs and flows, but those type of ebbs and flows that Miss Tokyo Tony be going on, she be on the cyclone down at Coney Island. Like, it's real rough.
When it's high, it's high. When it's low, it's low.
Baby, you're doing
Listen.
well. It's a lot. Hold on to your wigs. Like, she's
But
that's a tough lady. I'll say that for real. She's a tough lady. And honestly, from what it looks like now, there must have been some type of progression. Obviously, there's been some progression with Blac Chyna, or Angela White, also known as Blac Chyna. That she's done her work. She's done her healing. And I think she's also set some healthy boundaries, it looks like, with her mom, where she doesn't even engage on social media, on any type of platform at this point. You don't hear anything like how it was before with her mom, or even just like things that she's done for herself. So I think that is a testament of there can be healing if you do the work, if you set the boundaries, if you do the self-work that's required in order for you to live a happier life with, or sometimes without, that family member. It's very triggering. It's very triggering for me, because I think the one thing, I mean, we're both daughters, right? So like, I think that mother-daughter dynamic is such a delicate
Yep.
balance. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like it's even hard to like really put into words, because I feel like what we saw on television, you know, like with the Cosby Show, or with Family Matters, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and how the moms also always, how they were with their daughters, specifically, you know, obviously the Black families. So you're seeing these healthy, nurturing, at times when the mom needed to be stern, she was stern. The daughter was receptive. They were like best friends, and everything was just like la-di-da, like, you know, you saw like some of the little static, but it was never nothing. It almost made you feel like, ooh, I want that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that's not reality.
Yeah.
That's not reality. However, I think it's a good little template to kind of try to work at. But when it comes to real life, it's rough. It's
you
definitely
said
rough.
something really important though when it comes to these kind of dynamics. You said that it looks like Blac Chyna have created boundaries.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's like one of the most important things when you're talking about relationships, and especially toxic relationships. It's necessary to have boundaries. And the funny thing is that the ones who you set these boundaries with, though, sometimes because you're limiting them and their access to you, they're not going to like it. So it's going to be one of those where you will definitely get pushback. But for your well-being and your mental health, you have to kind of ensure these boundaries, you know?
And I definitely think that's another thing that is so foreign in our community, is boundaries. Like, we're raised to just deal with
and take
whatever.
It. Yeah.
Come what
it's
may.
True.
Family is family. You just got to take it on the chin and keep it pushing. And I'm like, I feel like to get away from that, to push against that, it's a rough thing. And I think it's, like I said, it's a very foreign thing to try to execute, because when you're in the midst of it, and then you're dealing with people that have kept this cycle going of, okay, we're gonna fuss, we're gonna fight, we're gonna carry on, we're gonna do all types of craziness, and then we're just gonna kumbaya, or, you know, but not really resolve anything, or you better pick up the phone when I call you. It was like,
yeah.
So you gonna cuss me out, call me everything but a child of God, and I'm supposed to pick up my phone for you?
You're like,
The phone
okay.
that I picked up?
Hugs. No. But the funny thing is too, it's like, I could even only imagine, even with Blac Chyna, that the amount of walking on eggshells she had to do throughout her childhood.
First of all, even in that clip was weird, because if I was her, I would have been hugging her.
You know what I saw?
Give me the hug. I'd have been like,
look,
girl, give me 50 feet.
You know what I saw in that clip? I saw disassociation. I saw, she saw her mom was in this episode,
Yeah.
And probably in the past, it's been a whole rah, 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 rah back and forth.
Yeah.
But she's like, she kind of kept it right there and not engaged.
Listen, again, I would not have did that. I would not have gotten to that space where I'm in her space and hug. That could have went left because she doesn't. It didn't look like it was too far fetched to see or think or hear that her mom put hands on her, even being in her big age. Like her mom probably, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I wouldn't even did all that. So I'm just like that was just too volatile. That was way too volatile of a situation. The aggression, the anger, the veracity. Like her mom was like going in, and that's I'm telling you, that just baffles me because I'm telling you that is so normal within our community when it comes
It's true.
to
It's true.
regular Black Americans, to the West Indians. It's like they can just straight out dog you out, cuss you out from here to Timbuktu, and then it's just supposed to be like cool afterwards. And I don't understand that. I
And it
never
doesn't
had
help
that.
anything. It doesn't help anything because all it does is just continue like a whole cycle that keep like, you know, then this person now probably ends up doing this to their child and their child does it, you know, and then it goes kind of down and there's nothing fixed. And then we wonder why there's so much dysfunction when it comes to family.
And I think
Yeah.
it also manifests in different ways. Like think about how if you're carrying on like that with your mom or your father, you know what I'm saying? And that's supposed to be like the closest person to you, right? Before you even get into a relationship or marriage or whatever the case may be. If y'all can carry on like that, what is that teaching you, or where does your thought process lie when it comes to respect? Not just respect for others, but respect for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm thinking about how that could happen once you're in a relationship or when you're in the dating space. Like, if you could talk to the person that birthed you like that, who say you can't talk to your spouse like that or your
Right.
significant other like that? You know what I'm saying? Like,
And then
where's the
future
boundary?
children as well.
Exactly.
Like, you
Where's the
know,
boundary?
it never
And then
stops.
even that when it comes to kids, what is it going to be like? Do as I say, not as I do. I can cuss and carry on, but you can't. You gotta respect it. You gotta respect me. You better not talk to me crazy. Like what?
Yeah.
I don't understand that. That's wild. But it's honestly it's a sad truth and a harsh reality that a lot of people face. And I feel like dissecting it and trying to really get to the root of it as to why these relationships are so in general is they're delicate in of itself. I think the relationship between a mother and their children is a very delicate relationship. And I think even so when it comes to the fathers. So when you're dealing with that type of aggression, that type of just roughness, it's like how do we mend those fences? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
we talked about
should we even mend the fences?
Yeah.
Because I'm an advocate of, if it's necessary, going gray rock. That's a psychological term, where it's like when you interact with each other, it's like minimal, like just at the keeping it to the facts. Like, you know, you're like, okay, so how's the weather outside? It's good. Whereas in a typical family, my girl, it's good. I went outside yesterday and I was, you get what I'm saying? Like, and then you'll probably go in. No, you just keep it like cut to the point kind of relationship interaction. Like, you know, answer what needs to be answered, say what needs to be said, because there's some people that you cannot avoid. So if you cannot avoid them, then the gray rock method is a way of kind of dealing with the toxicity without engaging. Then there's also the no contact route that some people may have to take. Some people may have to be like, okay, I love this person. Whatever, whoever it is to you, your mother, your father, your cousin, your sister, your brother, your even children, sometimes the toxicity of, depending on how it is. I mean, it's so hard for me to say children though, but because sometimes that's a reflection of you. But I mean, sometimes with grown children and how it is. But when you think about the no contact, it's important for some people because you cannot, why continue with the toxicity? You can love them from afar, be like, I love you, but where you are right now and what you are imparting on me, I cannot accept that for myself. I have enough love for myself to know that I cannot accept that. So I mean, I have this real quick. Yeah. What you say?
No, I was saying that's real because I feel like that part of it is very difficult. Generally, I think when you have to make a decision of saying like, I'm not going to deal with this person, I have to love them from a distance because
it's hard.
That's like,
if it's necessary though, it's necessary.
Yeah, for sure.
So real quick, that'll lead into this this other clip that I found about dealing with toxic people.
How much disrespect can I take until I cut off a friend or a family member?
How much poison do you take until you die?
So did you hear that? How much disrespect do you take until you cut somebody off? And then he's kind of equating it to how much poison do you take until you pass? Like sometimes you kind of have to look at it like that, as in to say it's the toxicity. Remember, there's high blood pressure. There's so many things that can be imparted when you're going through this up and down toxic roller coaster kind of relationship. So you have to think about, it's not good for even my health. I'm not going to stay here. So to preserve myself and my sanity, I cannot.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that, we've all learned as it related to just getting more information about how cancers are, how they form in our bodies, where a lot of it is stress induced. A lot of it is stemming from emotional or internalization of things. And learning that made me make a lot of adjustments within my relationships and just kind of putting things into perspective of where I want to be with people and how I want to be treated. And I feel like it's not just a family thing, it's also a friend thing. When you think about the people that you allow in your space, the people that you allow in your life, or, you have to really make the necessary adjustments and see I think it's a hard pill to swallow when you have to sit down and be like, whoa, this person's really not here for me like that, or the energy I'm putting into this relationship is not reciprocated, or the respect is not the same. You know what I'm saying? Like things like that, when you have to really sit back and like look at it and say, if my close whatever friend or family member or whomever said they were dealing with this, what would my advice to them be? You know what I'm saying? And I think if you put a lot of these situations with people into that mindset, like, what would I say to
if
me?
someone else,
If
someone else was in that position. That's a good way to put it.
A lot kind of like easy to kind of make a decision.
True.
You be like,
it's so true.
They did what? They said what? They violated you. Like, how? Pay them dust. Bye.
Yep. And that's no matter family or not. It's know. So, I have another good clip also to dive into because I found a lot of good nuggets on this topic. So, there's a lot of people going through it.
Listen,
But she has some sound advice.
Toxic families sweep everything under the rug. If you speak up and try to have a conversation about things, you are labeled as problematic. And
girl.
to make matters worse, if you react to the things that they do, they will then hyper-focus on your reactions to their abusive and toxic behaviors. The person who speaks up about the mistreatment is known as the cycle breaker. When the cycle breaker speaks up, they're met with a lot of pushback from the toxic family. So now the cycle breaker must go on and find new ways to protect themselves, to address the pain. A cycle breaker is a powerful force in the toxic family unit. Trauma travels through generations until someone is ready to feel it, address it, speak about it, heal it, change the dynamic, and move forward with a new set of life skills.
Mm.
Girl, she was giving a little AI action. She was like, ooh. She was like, stare hard and but
Yeah,
what
she was
said
really
was good.
enunciating.
She was
But
enunciating her word.
what I like what she talked about was that cycle breaker, though. Like when you're thinking about the generations that, well, my mom did it like this and her mom did it like that. Being that cycle breaker, it comes with a lot of pressure, to be honest. You kind of become that scapegoat of the family, but sometimes it's necessary for your future generations and for even your healing.
Yeah.
So, it comes with a lot on your shoulders, but it's necessary, especially if you see the toxicity and its effect on.
I mean, we touched on that concerning how
Mhm.
just making those adjustments when you start making boundaries a thing and saying, hey,
Mhm.
I'm not going to take you talking to me like this. I'm not going
Yep.
to take you, not respecting my space. I'm gonna see you when I see you. People don't like that. They
Of
want
course
to
not.
carry on how they carry on, and you're supposed to take it. So that's the part of it where it's like the cycle breaker. I like that term because I feel like a lot of the things that we know we're unlearning. We're trying to move, especially I think during the pandemic and after the pandemic was a lot of self work being happening
Mhm.
within our society where people looked inward and tried to make adjustments. And I feel like it's a beautiful thing, but unfortunately, I mean, we definitely have a lot of work to do. That was like
And
mental health has just been, the spotlight has been put on it since 2020, and I feel like we still have a lot of work to do.
I'm glad you mentioned that too with the pandemic, because a lot of people were kind of left in their environments, kind of stuck a little bit. So a lot of things that were pushed under the rug kind of made its way out.
You was what was it? I forgot what they called it. Stay at home or whatever. What was it called? When everybody
Um,
could stay at home?
I know what. Dang,
Because
it's
I
a bit
couldn't stay at home. I was outside. I had to go to work.
right.
I was the first
I
responder.
did too. I was with the kids, but yeah,
They have to kid. What?
yeah, I was in the classroom. I was.
That's wild.
Yep. But
I think it was stay at home. But yeah, I think that was one of the things I will say that I noticed, and it was definitely on the news at the time where there was a lot of DV situations going
uh-huh,
on. There was a lot of
unaliving and
a
all
lot
that.
of
It
things
was a
going on because
lot.
you're at home now. So think about
Yeah,
the toxic family member that you deal with, but you get to
they
run
in
away
your
from
face.
because you could go to school, you could go to work, you could go to your boo's house or whatever the case may be. Now you actually stuck at home with them
Mm-hmm.
every day, all day. you're remote learning or you're working at home or whatever the case may be, but you have to stay at home because the government has said you got to stay because the Rona's outside. Like the 911 calls was high. It was
Of
getting real
course.
crazy because people was popping off every, it played a lot on the psyche for a lot of people. So
And it's like, I feel, if I would love to know the stats of mental health care. Like, how did it rise during that time? Because I'm sure people were like looking to get that help.
It was EDPs. It was emotionally disturbed people all day, every day. Yeah.
That's something else.
Yeah.
So then it's like kind of recovering from that now that we're outside. We're like,
Yeah, people are still dealing with that. I think even when it comes to our kids, and that's a part of it where, I feel I have well, I'm not gonna say a level of empathy. I'm definitely empathetic because even as a parent, the unlearning and relearning of things that you grow up with, things that you remember seeing,
parenting
hearing,
styles.
yes, parental styles, things like that. It's like we gotta reprogram this thing because we can't even repeat certain stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And it's like putting those things into that perspective. I feel as you just try to listen. I'm just trying to make it in, okay? I'm just trying to be the best human I can be. So it's like whatever I can figure out and fix, I'm trying to do it, as best as I can.
Right.
So, but I think there is let's talk about like some of the guilt associated with some of that you just discussed concerning the cutoffs, the non-communicative relationships. How do you feel like people deal with that? Or like, do you think there is some guilt or
there's a lot of, I think that's what keep people bound. I think that's what keep you bound to that toxic family. Because you feel like, oh, like, let's say, okay, this is my mom. She gave birth to me. She raised me and all that stuff, even though it had all those toxic interactions and all that stuff. But that whole, and then even then, I've heard of situations where even if you decide to distance yourself, then other families will be like, how you not talking to your mom? That's not right. That's your mom. She gave birth to you. You get what I'm saying? So then it's like even like outside influence when you decided to make certain choices for that safety, then you have like outsiders even coming at you. So then it's like different dynamics. So it's like there's guilt. There's always guilt.
So you think it's more so guilt in order to stay in the relationship, not guilt of like, let's say the person just said, you know what? I can't do this. I'm going to be over here and you can stay over there. Do you think there's like a level of guilt associated with that too?
There is. Because I think we're prone to, as history, we're like used to putting up with it, and family is family. You have the saying, blood is thicker than water and all of that. And even though sometimes the water treats you better than the blood, so it's like you got to consider all of that, know. So I feel like there's guilt either way, and that's, you have to come to terms with that, of course, but then you have to put the healthiness of mind, body, soul. You have to kind of put that ahead of all of that, to be honest. Because the person, obviously, the perpetrator is not thinking about your health. It's not thinking about your well-being. They're not. So you have to advocate for yourself.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
That's how I think about that. So, I mean, but it's kind of sticky when you think about this stuff because, I've been in situations where, like, I've grown up with people and your memories are fond for the most part because you didn't know anything. But then, as you got older, you realized that, no, that was toxic. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't realize in your youth, because remember, like, even, and this is not with me per se, but even with other people, other like children, you're looking at your parents as heroes. You're accepting everything. You're not seeing their wrongs. You didn't know we were broke because they made it work for whatever, you get what I'm saying, like, or whatever the situations are. You're looking at your parents as heroes, and then when you get older, you're gonna be like, oh, that wasn't okay. That wasn't okay either. You know? And so when that happens, you got to kind of think about the dynamics with that, you know? But it's hard, because as you come to that realization, then when you have to make those decisions, you're thinking about those memories, and then you have to kind of sort through those memories and be like, yeah, it couldn't continue like this. Things have to shift, things have to change in order to heal and in order to get to a good place within myself. So like, even with, like, you know, my family member, I kind of had to come to this, like, okay, as much as I love this person, I have to put a space between us. Because continuing in the space where it was not helping me, and it was not helping that person. All that was living was toxicity, and that's not okay. So as difficult as it was, the memory of the good times, when there were good times, when there were memories that, you know, probably was distorted because, you know, that's how you were, and then you look back at it for what it is, you kind of have to make that difficult decision. But yeah, never easy. That's why I say, like, even we've talked about it before, actually labeling your relationships to what it is.
Yeah.
Like, I have a huge family. I can count on one hand the ones that I'm, like, you know, that I interact with. And of course that comes from different dynamics. I'm gonna be honest, you know, there's certain things like religious reasons, you know, there are certain religions, I'm not gonna specify, but that they don't agree with you associating with people outside of that religion. You know, and other toxic things, you know. So sometimes you kind of have to make that decision.
I think that's the part of it where, you know, emotional maturity has to come into play, and just getting in tune with yourself, and being okay with the decision once you make that decision. And if you see changes, because it's very possible, like we saw with Miss Tokyo Tony and Miss Black China, Angela White, right? She made her changes, and I feel like because she made her changes, she gave room to see if her mother was going to change. And when she saw that, I think she was then
Then
allowed
she
her
embraced
back
her a
into
lot
her
more.
space.
Yeah. Because I think there was a time where she was not allowing her in her space. She was not answering calls. She was not, I think she went on a whole rant about not being able to see the grandchildren at some point too, if I was not mistaken. So I feel like that was her time to kind of show her, if we cannot stay in those boundaries and repair the things that need to be repaired, I can't have you in my space.
That's fair.
Yep. I mean, you know, and it may not always go the way you want it to go, to be honest, but, you know, you're hoping, I guess, you know, for it. You're always wanting to, like, I don't think we go in saying, oh, I want this relationship to end. I really don't think that's the motive for a lot of people that go through this stuff. But also, when you recognize how toxic it is and everything, if it have to, then you kind of have to address it. That's it.
That's real.
Yeah.
This was awesome. This was a really good topic, because I feel like this is something we really need to work on as a community,
Of course.
as
Of course.
women, as daughters, as sisters, as friends. You know, we have
Mm-hmm.
to work on the people that we we have to work on how we deal with the people in our lives and
Of course.
sit back and really dissect those relationships and see if they're serving us in healthy ways, and if they're not, we have to make those adjustments so we could be good
Yep.
for ourselves, you know.
Yep. Yep. So I kind of want to end with this clip, and we'll move on from there.
Do is to cut off family members. Sometimes we have toxic family members that we have no other choice than to cut them off. And you see that happening a lot these days. And I want to say this from both sides of it. For the person that has to set a boundary with family members, that is an extremely hard thing to do, because you have to literally cut off a person that you love. The reason you cut them off is because they won't stop hurting you. They won't acknowledge hurting you. And they just keep doing it. And you are left with no choice but to cut them off. And that is a very, very difficult thing to do. But it's necessary, and props to the people that do it. At that point, you're choosing your own health over the quote unquote family. On the other side of that, you know, the people that get cut off, you know, I want to say to you that I know that's hard too. When your family cuts you off, is very difficult. But just understand that those people have chosen to feel better than to be around whatever it is that you are doing or bringing. And a lot of times people in this circumstance refuse to acknowledge the fact that they've hurt people. And I want to remind you guys, if you got a pulse, you've hurt people. All right, you got a pulse, check your pulse. You have hurt someone. So people will always say, well, I've never hurt anybody, I've never did anything. Well, clearly that person has a different story, and they're telling you that you are hurting them. One of the most disrespectful things you can do is ignore someone when they're telling you that you hurt them. That is extremely disrespectful. It's letting them know that you don't care. Further letting them know, oh, okay, I got to set a boundary with this person. I can't stay around this person. Whatever side of this coin you're on, all parties are being hurt. The person that set the boundaries, they're experiencing hurt. The person that gets the boundaries set against them are experiencing hurt. And it's a really, really sad circumstance. And the antidote to this circumstance is humility. It's apologizing. It's becoming aware of how you hurt people. And that doesn't mean the relationship is going to go back to normal, but those are steps that people have to take in order for it to get better. And hopefully y'all can get it together at some point in time. But if not, I wish peace and blessings on you all just as well.
Now you see why I left him for last. What I liked was that he looked at it from both ends. He looked at it as the person who had to set the boundary and the person who may have been hurt by a boundary being set. And he was talking about the importance of humility, because we've all hurt someone. And when you are able to be humble and reflect and actually be open to conversation, as you said earlier about emotional maturity, we have to be able to, yes, this may not feel well and all that, but in order to get to a better place, a healthier place, this is something that needs to be done. A conversation needs to be had. And then if you choose not to be humble, if you choose not to be, then as he said, peace and blessings to you. I thought that was like a great end for this session.
Definitely. Very powerful, very powerful. And forgiveness. And sometimes forgiving the apology you never get. Because I think sometimes that's what we look for as people. We want to be heard and we want some acknowledgement, but sometimes you may not get it because that person may not have the wherewithal. They may not be there, you know, emotionally to receive and to be able to give you that apology. So sometimes you just have to forgive and move on, even if you don't get the apology. So it's tough, but it's not impossible.
So now that you're with me, this is the last thing I do before I close the session. there's a moment that I call mindful moment. Was kind of upbeat for the solemn moment that we kind of ended on just a while ago, right? But but this is the mindful moment. I just want to say and leave a nugget with us. Usually I ask a question, but I want to leave a nugget. If there are any relationships that you are going through that you kind of have to reflect on, take that courage with you to know that your health, your sanity, your worth comes before trying to save face with a relationship. But above all, communicate. Get through that, and let's see where we can go from there. So that's my mindful thought. So as we continue to go, let's continue to create a mindful society. Do you have any last words before we cut tonight?
I mean, I was feeling like we was on the Oprah show in the 90s. I was like, let me get my tissue. Like, ooh.
And you get a car. And you get a car. No, Lisa.
Yeah, for real, yeah. Everybody crying on that couch, girl. So, it was a heavy topic, but it was a needed topic.
It was.
So
of course. Not going to be easy, but
yeah, sometimes
it's worth it. It isn't easy. Okay. I'm not going to do it. All right, Dee, I thank you for joining me. This has been awesome. It's always great having a conversation with you. We definitely got to do this again.
Of course.
All right. And we are out.